a lot is about to happen. We'll take out the seats to make room for our new swivel seats that we put up to the test. We start working on insulating the walls and the ceilings and begin with the electrics. And we even cut more holes into the van. A pile of packages arrives, big and small, and with them the first frustrations.
Oh, come on.
We're Brendan and Sanne, an architect and electrical project manager. Let's get started. In the previous video, we started with placing the anti-drumming plates, and with most of them in place now, we add the last few where we feel extra sound dampening is needed. Then it's time for insulating. We start with cleaning and degreasing the walls and ceiling to make sure the insulation will stick properly, because we chose for Armaflex, which is perfect for camper builds. It's lightweight, flexible, easy to cut in any shape, and the sticky side makes it easy to apply on the van's curved surfaces. It also has great thermal insulation, prevents condensation, and doesn't absorb water, all of which are essential when you're living in a small space like a van. While I'm working on the insulation, Brendan removes the front seats to prepare for the swivel seats and access to the electrics and gas tank beneath the floor. It's for the preparation of the boiler and heating system that we will place later on, so we're sure to be warm and cozy during our next winter trips. Sometimes I have to call upon my inner electrician and help Brendan with pulling some cables. Brendan is using flexpipe throughout the van for the electrical cables. While the copper already has a thin rubber coating for protection, the van's metal body sometimes has some sharp edges that could damage that insulation over time. If the copper were to touch the bare metal, it could start to weld, which could create dangerous situations. By running the cables through flexpipe, we add an extra layer of protection. Another huge advantage is flexibility for the future. We can't stress this enough. Leave room for flexibility in your build. If we ever want to add new features once the van is finished, we can simply pull additional cables through the existing pipes without tearing everything apart. It's definitely a bit of extra work up front, but the added safety and future-proofing make it more than worth it. Above my head is not my thing. Al mijn armen zijn zo moe. Ik kan echt niet meer mijn hoofd omhoog drukken. The next day, we're bringing in loads of packages. It's a bunch of small stuff for the electrics and water installation, like pipes, connectors, and other stuff. It was really a lot, and it almost took us like an hour to unpack all of it. After that, we drove to our favorite Swedish shop to get everything for our bed. We used the bed beam that usually goes in the middle of the bed, which you can adjust to any size, a slatted base and a nice and comfy mattress. We are well on our way with insulating, but many people forget to insulate the cabin. The cabin is actually one of the biggest sources of heat loss and gain in a van, so adding insulation in the doors will make a big difference in overall comfort. As you can see, insulating the doors is pretty tricky. You really have to work your way into all the narrow spaces inside. So we came up with a simple but actually pretty smart solution. We used a sheet of transparent plastic from the packaging we have left, placed it against the door and traced the inner shape with a marker. This gave us the perfect mold, which we then used to cut the Armaflex insulation that fits the door perfectly. Et voila, the perfect insulated door. We're finally starting with the actual build part of the camper. We check all the measurements one last time and how it will affect the placement of the shower and the toilet, and then we'll begin with the bed. My opinion, the most important part of the camper, because we obviously want a good night's sleep during our travels. We decided to shorten the wooden slats that hold the bed's slatted base together to gain a little bit of height over our heads, because in a small space like this, every centimeter is a win. Making the bed's slatted base was an absolute horror. It's such a simple task, but somehow there's always one slat that secretly gets out and you have to do it all over again, because you can't get them in anymore without it all falling apart.
Nee, er is nog going out!
Huh?
Is nog out! Hoe dan?
Doe jij?
Stop erbij! Oh, come on, food.
Just to be clear, I already did this like 5 times and I was so done with it. Anyway, I redid this side again and now I'm gonna start with the other half of the bed. To push the bed as far back in the fan as possible to gain space in the front, we need to adjust the slatted base to fit the angled corners next to the back doors and copy the pre-perforated holes in the base slats for the crossbars. They aren't even, so that's why I need to make an exact copy and I can't just drill in the middle. This is how I copied them perfectly. I place a piece of tape with the sticky side on the outside of the slat with the 2 pre-perforated holes. Then I poke the holes with a screw or pencil. I place the slat against the one where I need to drill the holes in and transfer the tape to that side. As you can see, I now know exactly where to drill to attach the crossbars. And I know there are a million other ways to do this, but I used this one. To attach one of the bed beams. The fan's rear corners are slanted, so without them we wouldn't be able to position the bed this far back, and we'd lose a lot of valuable space. In a tiny van, every centimeter counts, so we're optimizing as much as possible. I'm placing a piece of plastic again because we're about to drill a few extra holes in the metal beam and we don't want any metal splinters falling behind the wheel arch. It's almost impossible to reach afterwards with a vacuum or a magnet. To reduce waste during this build, we always reuse old packaging plastic instead of using new rolls. We do the same with materials like cardboard and wood when making molds for other parts of the fan. It saves a lot of money and it's good for the planet. We mount the mounting plate with riv nuts for extra strong hold. We're using a really long leveler to make sure we place all 3 beams on the exact same height, since the floor isn't completely straight, so we can't really measure from there. Not to see if they are level, of course, because that's impossible in a van, but to see if there are no height differences between them. There's the final test and we get to see what it looks like having our first visual element in the camper. We've been debating about if we should get a small ventilator or a window for the shower, and we decided to go for a window. It not only adds natural light, but also adds a little bit of extra headroom, which is especially helpful for Brennan, since he'll likely lose some standing height once the shower tray is in. There is no question about having ventilation at all in the shower, because you definitely need ventilation to prevent mold and rot. But first, we're going to set up the construction for the walls on that side of the van. Installing the shower tray on top of a grid for two reasons. First, it allows ventilation underneath. When the warmth of the water meets the cold temperatures on the bottom of the tray, condensation can form, which might lead to mold or rot. Second, the extra height gives us space to run the heating tube that we will install later from the garage to the front, as part of it will need to pass underneath the tray to reach the front seats. It's time for the final window hole to be made. Of course, we make sure that there are no metal splinters going around in the van. The reason we don't like to use a vacuum for this kind of thing is because tiny splinters might still escape and I'll need to stand underneath to hold a vacuum, and I could catch a splinter in my eye, even though wearing protective glasses, but why take the risk? And besides, Brenning is already wearing the protective glasses and we only have one. I do wear the protective glasses when I take the plastic bag down. It was a really hot day in the workspace. That's the only disadvantage of this place. There is no air conditioning and no heater as well, so that will be fun in winter. And the roller door is at the end of the hall, so we don't feel a breeze either. So when it's hot outside, it's twice as hot inside. We coated the wooden frame for the roof light with hammerite for wood to protect it against moisture damage. In a camper, the shower area is the wettest space, meaning there's a high chance of water contact and humidity over time. Without proper sealing, the wood could absorb moisture, swell, and eventually rot. By treating it, we make sure the wooden frame stays durable and safe for the long run. In the roof of a Fiat Ducato, you have these ribs, and that causes some gaps between the frame and the roof itself, so we made some small wooden pieces to fit in between. We made these wooden pieces for both sides, so also on the wooden frame, as you can see here. It mimics the shape of the roof of our Fiat Ducato, so the frame and window will fit perfectly, and we don't have to waste a huge amount of sealant to close the gaps. It's a simple, low-cost solution that works just as well. We filled the remaining gaps with extra sealant, making sure everything forms one solid waterproof seal. Since I insulated the front of this beam, I'm placing yellow pieces of tape to mark where there are holes in the metal beam. This way, when we mount the upper cabinets later, we'll avoid drilling into these spots. And now that we have the last window cut, I can place the last pieces of Armaflex on the ceiling. Today there is a huge delivery. All of our wood gets delivered. including the final finishes for all our cabinets, and we are so curious. Seeing all this wood makes us so excited to start building. For the finishes of the cabinets and furniture, we're going to use birch, and it looks fantastic. Exactly what we had in mind. Proper storage is key. If panels sit unevenly, they can warp or twist and become unusable. We stored ours flat, level and off the floor to keep them straight, strong and ready for the build. Since our workspace does experience temperature swings, as we can't regulate the temperature, which can also affect the wood, we hope it won't affect it too much. We don't really have another option. This morning we picked up our swivel seats, which is really nice. It's not working, as you can hear. It's really hot in the workspace. So we're gonna make it a short day today. We're gonna install the swivel seats and then we're gonna go home, take some ice cream because it's really warm. If you're Dutch, you know or you will find out how painfully difficult and expensive it is to get swivel seats approved by the RDW. Way harder than in most other countries. But we found the perfect way to do it. Let us know in the comments if you're interested in a video about this. It will make everything so much easier. A small moment of appreciation. The new seats are in and they swivel. For those who think we do not use ear protection, we do. But we use in-ear buds so you can barely see them, except the little cord around our necks. It is so much more comfortable than the big earmuffs. I put a link in the description together with many other tools and products that we use in this video. Sometimes it seems like it's never ending with holes in this fan. For the water tank, we need to drill a hole in the bottom plate so it can be easily emptied after a trip. Afterwards, we undercoat it to protect it against water and dirt. Once we finish the setup for the water tank, we move on to the electric side. I'm going to make a start with the electricity cabinet, while Brennan sorts and prepares the cables for the installation. cabinet will be placed above the wheel arch, so we made an elevated part where we'll place the batteries. And the plate underneath in the front of the wheel arch will contain all of the components of the electrical installation. While I keep working on the electrics cabinet, Brendan goes back to the water side, because besides emptying the water tank, we also need a way to fill it. So on the side of the fan, we're adding a fill point, which means yet another hole in the fan. To prepare, Brendan first makes a cardboard mold of the wooden frame that will eventually hold the fill point securely in place. And just like that, we're nearing the end of this video. With fan builds, you often have to take things apart again, so the progress might not look like much, but we have a bed, people. Kinda. Would you go for a fixed bed or not? We have our reasons to do it like this. But what would you do? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share. In the next video, we're gonna make some real visual progress that makes our van start to look like an actual camper. We make progress with the electrical cabinet, start painting the first elements, we're laying the final floor in the garage, the walls and ceilings are taking shape, we add some constructive elements and make the molds for the finishing of the doors using our handy trick. See you in the next one.